One of the seemingly tricky parts of chemistry is learning how to interpret chemical formulas and count the atoms. The first thing you must know is how to identify an element from the formula. Element symbols on the periodic table follow strict rules. If there is only one letter in the symbol, it is capitalized. If there are two letters in the symbol, the first letter is capitalized and the second letter is lowercase. This helps you identify the elements in a compound, like this one. There aren't 3 atoms here just because there are 3 letters. There are only 2, potassium and bromine. In an even more complicated formula, you can still find the elements by carefully looking out for those lowercase letters. They go with the capital letter before them. So we have sodium, hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen. But what about the little numbers? The subscripts. Subscripts tell you how many of the atom are bonded in the compound. The subscript only applies to the element written just before it, so there are 3 oxygen atoms in this formula. In this formula for glucose, there are 6 carbon atoms, 12 hydrogen atoms, and 6 oxygen atoms. There's even another trick up the chemist's sleeve: coefficients. A coefficient is a number in front of a chemical formula that acts as a multiplier. Everything after that coefficient is multiplied by the coefficient. So instead of there being 1 sodium atom and 1 chlorine here, there are actually 2 sodiums and 2 chlorine atoms, because there are 2 of the whole sodium chloride compound. The last trick involves chemical formulas with parentheses. When you see parentheses around part of the chemical formula, that means there are multiples of that part. The subscript outside the parentheses tells you how many multiples there are. In this case, there are 3 CO3s. The number outside the parentheses does not apply to anything that's away from the parentheses. So the aluminum is not multiplied by 3. Only the 2 subscript that's directly next to it. So, to total all of the atoms of elements here, there are 2 aluminum atoms, 3 carbon atoms, because the 3 after the parentheses is the multiplier, and 9 oxygen atoms, because 3 times 3 is 9. Now let's try a really fancy formula. This is ammonium sulfate. Let's look through each element and count the atoms as we go. Nitrogen is first, and the 2 outside the parentheses is a multiplier, so we have 2 nitrogen atoms. Hydrogen is next, and there's a subscript 4 next to it, and the 2 multiplier outside the parentheses, so 4 times 2 is 8. The next element is sulfur, and it has no subscript and no parentheses, so there's just 1 atom. And lastly, oxygen has a subscript of 4, so there are 4 atoms. If you were looking at a chemical equation and there's a coefficient in front of the formula, everything would be multiplied by that number. So the 2 in front of ammonium sulfate here doubles the number of atoms we have, like this. Thanks for watching this episode of Teacher's Pet. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow me on Twitter @SciencePet.